Hi, I'm Dan Jones, editor at Next TMT Networks, and I'm here with Daryl Schoolar, who is a analyst and director at Recon Analytics. We're here to talk about Ericsson's AI RAN deal with SK Telecom.
Yeah. So, yeah, I saw that it was announced the other day. They're part of SK Telecom's, AI program that's going on there. Not surprisingly, let's say South Korea as a whole, the operators there as a group have been very much involved in AI and the possibility of AI.
Yep.
Yeah, which you always kind of see. I mean, South Korea is one of the more leading technology markets,
Yeah,
and Ericsson and SK had already announced that they were working together previously, and this is another step forward that you expect to see, where they start to provide some proof points coming out of different trials and proof of concept work together. And it kind of just fits into the timeline, in my opinion, of
right.
what we expect.
And what is the timeline as far as you know right now?
Well, I mean, everybody's starting to get things lined up for 6G, whether that's 2028, 2030.
Right.
So you start seeing all the different vendors and the operators start doing something similar to what we saw with SKT and Ericsson announcing, where they're starting to work together on what they see as technology that will, you know, have some legs in 5G advanced, but really flourish when you get to 6G. Kind of the way we saw MIMO coming on board with the latter part of the 3G era, but just really start to explode in 4G and 5G. And
Yeah.
that's similar to AI RAN that we're seeing here, because it's not just Ericsson. I mean, Nokia and Samsung are
Yeah.
both making announcements in that
Yeah, I
area.
mean, let's talk about that. I had definitely hadn't heard so much about Samsung doing AI RAN so far. So, who are they doing it with, and what is it?
They're doing it with some of the other Korea. I know they've been doing some stuff, I think, with KDDI, Korea Telecom as well,
Hmm.
NTT Docomo. They're somewhat flexible in their approach, but while everybody talks about GPUs, Samsung and Ericsson are still doing a lot of this with CPUs, not GPUs,
Right.
versus, say, Nokia, which has been much more aggressive in pushing the GPU
Yeah.
alternative.
So that would probably be Intel kind of CPUs.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah, and I think Ericsson also uses some of their own processors as well, their own in-house
Yeah.
developed processors.
Yeah.
But,
So,
they're all
not so
taking
much
different
open
approach.
source then.
Yeah, everybody's trying to get out and they do their dog and pony show and show how they're moving forward and developing this technology. Really about putting their stake in the ground for the next generation of RAN infrastructure. And I think AI definitely. I mean, there's different flavors of AI with RAN, as we've discussed before. I mean, there's AI for RAN, which is a lot about like building our apps, centrally located apps using AI for performance. And then there's AI RAN, which is what we're talking about really right here with Ericsson and Samsung and Nokia, where they're looking to have AI built natively into the base station. And
Yeah.
a lot of it's really focused on network optimization and performance, which is they're always trying to improve that for obvious
Yeah. No,
reasons.
I know. Although
Yeah.
Nokia did mention a bit about inferencing as well, so
Yes.
possibly
And that's
that
the
could
next
be
thing. That'd be kind of like RAN for AI, the
right.
third bucket, where you start saying, all right, we have the AI, we have the RAN. How can we put these two together to create new services?
Right.
Which is in some ways a continuation of everything we were talking about at the beginning of 5G. It's like, oh, it's going to open up the network. It's not going to be just about SIM cards and mobile broadband. It's going to be about new applications and businesses and all that. So with RAN for AI, it's kind of more of a continuation of that. It's another approach of how do you crack that nut? How do you like create new businesses, use cases for operators, new ways to grow revenues? Which, I certainly admire that they continue to do it, and I think that they have to do it. But that is, in my mind, is a bigger challenge. Because if we go back to, say, AI for RAN or RAN AI, that's all within the four walls of the operator
Right.
and the vendors. Like, all right, we can do this and all that. But when you start talking about RAN for AI and doing revenues, That's when you have to go out and you have to find, oh, here's the use cases. Here's like partners we probably have to bring in, maybe
Right.
vertical specialists, things like that. So there's always margin stacking, partnerships, and all that takes a lot
Yeah.
longer.
Adds complication. Sure.
It's always easier to save money than it is to grow money.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, Nokia was kind of talking about possibly having T-Mobile get trials out of their AI RAN, what, full 2027, maybe
Yeah, I think so.
wintry 2027.
And I think, T-Mobile's also doing some with Ericsson as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch from that to the obviously one of the other big topics that's going on this week, or has been going on for like pretty much the entirety of last week as well, which is SpaceX, Starlink, and their kind of femto
hmm
frenzy, shall we call it?
Yeah, that certainly got a lot of people talking.
Right, right,
Definitely something that the operators here in the US have got to keep an eye on
right,
because, most things when people try, a lot of times in this area, they don't succeed, but other times they do succeed. And so if you're caught flat foot, you're going to be in trouble. So the Starlink announcement or, the comments that they made during the quarterly call
right.
are
Which is pretty much
interesting.
all they've actually said on it.
Yeah, and I think for this discussion, we gotta kind of split it in two. That there's two parts. First, there's an interest in being a mobile operator,
Right,
and second, there's the specifics that they shared how they did it. I certainly do see that. I think Starlink and Musk and company are going to take a shot at being a mobile operator here in the United States. Now, in terms of how they said they're going to do it, I don't think that's going to be how they do it. The way they talked about it on that call, because you're talking about like mesh networking. You can't just stick a radio in someone's house. I
yeah,
mean, there's
yeah,
there's business model problems there. There's also
yeah,
possibly zoning issues.
indeed.
Who's
I mean,
paying
there's
for the
just not
power?
enough. There's
Yeah.
just not enough Starlink satellite dishes out there for them to stick a femtocell on each one.
Exactly. It's I don't know who I was talking to. It reminds me a little bit like here in Phoenix, there's all these new shiny condos going up, right? But
Right,
no one wants to be the first person in the condo because if no one else buys into it, congratulations, you have an empty building to yourself and you got a whole lot of problems. It's a little bit like that with the whole Starlink thing that they were talking about on that. It's like, all right, sure. Yeah, it's going to be on someone's house, but you got to get subscribers first. So do you want to sign up for it and hope your neighbors sign up as well?
right, right.
And in the sense of what the coverage of these small cells are is not really known. It's just throughout femto. And who knows? I mean, that femto term very likely could just be a generic term for a
Yeah,
small
no,
cell biome.
but looking into it, even if it is a generic term for femto, it can't have that much range because otherwise the FCC would have to regulate it much
hmm
more deeply. And that usually takes like 60 to 90 days for them to look at things and say, well,
Yeah.
this can go up or this can't go up. So,
Yeah, imagine citing an entire neighborhood. I mean, we saw when people were talking about going to small cells for your entire network, which never really happened. The
right,
challenge of trying to get all that cited. Imagine doing it in your house. And also, it's not a do it yourself thing either. I mean, you can't, the average consumer isn't going to be putting the base station up there because you can't just stick it up there. You actually have to tilt it and put it in the right
yeah, yeah,
direction and all that. And, if I'm a Starlink subscriber, I am not their network technician at the same time.
no.
Nor if
Well,
it
now
goes
you
out,
are.
I don't want them
Now
knocking on
you
my
are.
house at 3 a.m. trying to fix it. So all that said, I find, there's so many holes in that story. But
Right,
I do see that they, I would not be surprised if they do make a play for mobile operator. And maybe small cells is just a fraction of that story. I think if they're going to do it, they're going to have to get some low band spectrum.
right,
They're going to have to do macro cells. They can't get around it. They got
right,
to have coverage there as well. And even on the macro cells, if they say they have low band, if they get some low band, which I know Roger, the founder of Recon's been talking about, I think he
right,
had that on his podcast, they might very well take those other bands that they got from Echo and use it on that same grid as well.
right.
And then,
Yeah,
maybe the small cells will just be like CBRS or Wi-Fi or something like that.
indeed, indeed.
But still, crowdsourced networks have not been
No,
particularly
no,
successful.
I can think of like
Yeah.
two or three that are definitely not been successful so far. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been pitched a few over the last 20
yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
years. So yeah, I can see it coming. I can see him giving it a try, doing something. But then on top of that, I mean, the other issue, and again, not to knock them because they've been very successful with other things. Once you have the technology up, you still have to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
you have to have the customer service and the sales and all that. And I do not get the sense that Starlink currently has all of that in place to
No.
do it.
And
That's
literally if they're
expensive.
using the global star spectrum, then they still have to get the devices actually
Yeah.
get out in the first place. So that's another issue. But
And they have to have customer service, and they have to
right,
have billings, and they have to
right.
have OSS, and a slew of other things out there. I mean, as long as I've been an analyst, I mean, they've been doing something about, excellent technology, but just, man, it's just that human effort part, the customer service, the
Right,
sales,
right.
and the marketing can still sink you.
Indeed. I was wondering whether they might, well, I think they probably will try and take some of the upper C-band auction when that comes about. I don't know how much because they seem to kind of choke on the the other auction they were on, but I think they're going to have to try and take some of that C-band to make this a success at all.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they need more terrestrial spectrum. I mean, what is it that they have now? Like 64?
65, and it's like AWS4 and other stuff like that.
Which is like nothing compared to the other US operators.
Right, no, nothing
They have
at all.
hundreds, if not thousands of megahertz of spectrum.
Right, it kind of reminds you of how Dish was trying to run roll out their network, and that didn't really work. So
No. Cheap and easy rarely works when it comes to mobile
no,
networks.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, certainly Elon Musk has been very smart about stuff and has hired smart people, but
Right,
I don't know if he can break that golden rule that, cheap and easy don't really cut it.
right, right, right.
But it'll certainly keep folks like you and me busy for a
Indeed,
while.
indeed, indeed. Well, thanks so much for your
Yeah.
time. Thank
Thank
you for
you
your
for the
time.
invite.
Yeah, no problem. All right, until next week.